Hey, it's me, Yvonne, your local non-binary witch. In part one of this series, we talked about extemporization, so speaking from the heart in ritual in a spontaneous way. I'd like to talk about spontaneity in ritual as a more general thing, and give some examples of speaking extempore. So first off, talking about spontaneity in ritual in general. Spontaneity is good. It keeps your ritual alive. It allows for serendipity, that sort of sudden moment of inspiration. Hey, we could do this. So it may be that you suddenly feel the urge to dance, or everybody suddenly feels the need to sit down, or somebody has a moment of divine inspiration and says, channels something, or I want to do this. So we should always allow for that, especially as we may be working from a written ritual, but we can always go off script. And in fact, I like to make, if I do have a scripted ritual, I like to make my script allow for moments of extemporization and spontaneity and creativity. So I would strongly recommend doing that, because it makes the ritual come alive in a way that it just doesn't otherwise. So, a lot of people find it really, really stressful trying to learn a script. So what we tend to do is have a script, but only the person who is actually reading from the script is looking at the script. Everybody else puts their script down by their side and looks at the person who's speaking. And then that minimises the sense that we're all in a rehearsal or something. It also reduces the stress of trying to learn things. Anyway, so spontaneity, how to foster it, how to encourage it. So it's good because it allows for the possibility of divine inspiration. And so one of the things that's really important for spontaneity is that everybody feels safe. And so I spend a lot of time in my ritual setup making sure that everybody feels safe. So, like, you will never be criticised in my ritual, for example, for mispronouncing a word, or like stumbling or whatever, right? Because the flow of the ritual is more important than stopping to criticise. And also, you don't want to undermine people by criticising them. That's bad. And then the more safe people feel, the more they can be spontaneous and be themselves. So that's good. So I think spontaneity is something that is very desirable because of the creativity and the possibility of inspiration. I think I already said that. So some examples of extemporization. One example could be, let's say, we're calling the element of fire, right? So take a moment to think about what it is you're going to say. And beings of fire, come to our circle to warm us with your flickering flames. Be with us now, you warm and spontaneous creatures. You are the flame of joy, the flame of inspiration. You are that which warms us on the hearth. You cook our food, and you light the way in the darkness. Hail and welcome. So that wasn't particularly great because I wasn't in ritual mode. I'm making a video, but it's off the cut. It's from the heart, and it doesn't have to sound like great poetry. It just has to sound okay. And I think we need to get over the kind of thing of, I've got to sound like Shakespeare, right? So we make sure that we just have an adequate store of poetry, of poetic images to extemporize with. Okay. So another example might be that you're calling a deity. So let's say we are calling the goddess Bast. Okay, so what do we know about the goddess Bast? We know that she likes cats, or that cats are associated with her. But she's not just a cat goddess, she also takes care of childbirth and children and mothers. Okay. So, hail Bast, goddess of cats, you who love music, you who enjoy the play of children and take care of mothers, just as a mother cat guards her young, so you guard the children of the village. Hail Bast. You get the idea. So really, it doesn't have to be super poetic or anything like that. It just, again, from the heart, from the moment in which you are. So I hope that gives a general idea of how that works. Another thing to think about in ritual where you're being spontaneous is sometimes an idea can arise from a collective impulse. So one person does something and then that inspires somebody to do something else that relates to the first thing, and then you all join in and you actually get a better result than if you stuck to the script. So for example, if you're doing a chant, quite often you might start with a more complex chant and then bring it down to something much simpler. So where you're chanting maybe one or two words as you're dancing around in a circle, and that can be really effective because you start off with a more complex thing and then you go simpler. And I always think it's better to go simpler than more complex, because when we're in ritual mode, our brains sort of don't want to latch on to very complex sentences or ideas. So simple images and simple sentences are better, because I once did a ritual, wrote a ritual where I compiled like some Shakespeare and some Keats and some other poet, and made a ritual out of their poetry. And it was actually a disaster because the language in that poetry was too complex. So even though the people read it really well and it was all, very complex, the mind, having gone into twilight mode, the right brain mode for the ritual, it was really difficult to latch onto the meaning of the words. So it's much better to go, right, okay, short sentences, simple ideas, because the right brain can cope with those things. And rhythm is good, rhyme not so much, because rhyme always sounds a bit trite, and if it's a forced rhyme, that's even worse. So the only exception to that is if you actually have a chant that you're going to chant in a repetitive way for a spell or something, then rhyme is good, but not for the whole ritual too much. At least that's my personal taste. Your mileage may vary. So I think be prepared for things to change, for things to emerge, and for things to arise spontaneously, because that's a good thing. Right, I think that's everything I wanted to say. So take care out there, and blessed be.